Shout out to G-Man Boxing. Where's the piss bottle? It's over there.
Alright, so this weekend we have Anthony Yarde versus Lyndon Arthurs in a rematch from around about this time last year, actually, as it happens. In fact, it might have even been a year almost to the date, as since the first fight happened. And it's interesting because both guys, in my opinion, can improve on what they did in the first fight, and I think both guys will. There's a lot of questions I have to ask. There really is, and I think that this fight is intriguing. From what I've seen from people who I've asked, it's quite split. Many people feel it's going to be revenge for Anthony Yarde, and many others feel it's going to be repeat for Lyndon Arthurs. Now, when I look at both guys, and when I look at the first fight, and I went back and watched it there a couple of days ago, and boy, that was that fight was not easy to watch. It was a kind of fight that when you watch it at the time, and even kind of looking back at it, it got the impression that it was always going to catch fire, but it never did. That's the best way I describe the first fight. It was a fight that on paper should have caught fire, but never did. I'm going to say this, I've said it once I should say, and I'll say it again, and I mean no disrespect to Lyndon Arthurs in this, but I feel Yarde lost that fight, the first fight, more than Lyndon Arthurs won it. Having said that, Lyndon Arthurs can improve, and I believe he will improve coming into this rematch. One thing that Lyndon Arthurs has going in his favour is that he had a fight a couple of months back during the summer, and it was a competitive fight. It was a tough fight. Lyndon Arthurs was able to get the stoppage against a guy who, gave him some problems. I forget the guy's name now. Now, Anthony Yarde also had a fight during the summer, but he may as well have not done anything because the guy he fought was absolutely dreadful. And the minute that bell rang, he was looking at the floor before the bell went, as John Fury would say. So you can't really it's nice and he was in front of a crowd as well. He hasn't been in front of a crowd in a while, but that was just farcical. That was a laughable fight. So with regards to Arthurs, he's had more time in the ring this year and against a better opponent. All right, now that might stand him in good stead. It might very well. Lyndon Arthurs in the first fight, he was able to establish the jab early on. Now, in that first fight, there was a lot of close rounds. There was a lot of swing rounds. The rounds that Lyndon Arthurs won, he definitely won, if you get me. So if there was a round that you would give to Lyndon Arthurs, you'd give it to him because he won that round clearly. He was able to win the fight primarily boxing off the back foot, utilising his jab. Now, I would say to Lyndon Arthurs more of the same place. Because Lyndon Arthurs, Anthony Yarde, Tunde Ajayi has tried to instill a Mayweather type kind of style in him, where it's kind of, a bit of movement, the shoulder roll, trying to keep it at range. That's all well and good for Floyd Mayweather, who's 5'8" with long arms at welterweight. You're talking about Anthony Yarde, a 5'10", 5'11" light heavyweight, who's got a big, bulky stature, who, when Floyd Mayweather kind of tends to kind of turn side on, how are you going to hit him? Because he makes himself such a small target. Anthony Yarde's bulky. He can't make himself a smaller target. He's just so broad and big. So that's what Tunde's been teaching him. Now, that works fine against some of the guys he's been fighting. But against Lyndon Arthurs, we saw it didn't work because Lyndon Arthurs is bigger. I think he's 6'2", 6'3". He was able to control Anthony Yarde with his jab. Now, in the first fight, Lyndon Arthurs didn't throw his right hand much. I, myself, and the commentary team at the time suspected he may have picked up an injury in that right hand. But no. Subsequently, he emerged that Yarde basically took the right hand away. And he didn't feel confident throwing the right hand for fear of being countered. Which is good from Anthony Yarde. It shows that Anthony Yarde has ability. Make no mistake about it. So him being able to take that punch away from Lyndon Arthurs. And it meant that Lyndon Arthurs was thinking the whole time, look, I want to throw the right hand, but I can't. I'm worried about getting countered. Now, I think what he needs to do in this fight is he's going to need to let the right hand go. But he's going to need to find a way to land it, but also feel comfortable throwing it, if you get me. Because he's probably thinking to himself, look, I don't want this guy countering me. He hits hard. He found that out in the 12th round, that Yarde does hit hard. He can counter quite well. I need to be on point with this because I don't want to take a risk and miss with my right hand and it'll take it a right hand in return. Because Yarde's right hand is very good. Very powerful right hand. Ask Kovalev. So I think that he's going to be working more so on landing the right hand and landing it safely with minimal risk. Because Lyndon Arthurs actually got quite a powerful right hand. You see the knockout he got in his last fight, they were right hands. So Yarde has a good shin. That's what I will say. Yarde showing me that he's got a decent enough chin. People will say he got knocked down by a jab. You know, how can you say he got knocked out? He got knocked out by a jab in the 11th round of a fight in which he took plenty of jabs early on, didn't bother him, but in a fight where he was absolutely knackered. And if your legs are completely spent and they're tired, a little push, a little shove will knock you down, where in the first round it wouldn't. So I think Yarde's chin is fine. But Lyndon Arthur has, I think, underrated punch power. I think that in the right hand he does have a good bit of pop. And I think Yarde's going to want to be wary of it. So if Yarde was able to take it away in the first fight, he's going to want to try and be able to do it more the same in this fight. On the contrary, Lyndon Arthur is going to want to find a better way of delivering it safely and not worry so much about being countered. I think if he can do that, keep boxing the back foot, try and keep Yarde guessing. You know, because Yarde in that fight, I think it was a combination of things. I think it was a combination of him feeling he was just doing enough to win these rounds. I think the memory of the Kovalev fight and gassing maybe played as well a bit of a factor in it. I think they were two things that definitely played a factor in how the fight went first time round for Anthony Yarde. I think that he had the memory, because it was only he had the Dex Spellman fight actually, but then he had this Arthur's fight, but he knew going late, hang on a sec, I've gassed badly in a big fight before, I don't want to do that again. And I think as well as having Tunde in the corner, you know, really kind of, you know, cheer the Yarde team at that stage, and they might have changed now, but they were only short of cheerleading. They really were. That's why I use comparisons from that fight when I was talking about Teofimo Lopez and Cambosis with Lopez Sr. So I get the impression that Yarde thought he was just doing enough. And remember, after the fight, he said he felt he got robbed. Subsequently, he said that having watched it back, it was closer. He still, I think, thinks he won, but it was a very close fight. Now, it could have really went. That was a real kind of flip of coin. It could have went either way. It really could have, because it was a real close competitive fight. Now, if I'm in Team Yarde, my advice to Anthony Yarde is use your feet more in this fight. And what I mean by that is, Yarde, if you look at him, he's actually got quite quick feet. For someone of his stature, that's not normal to an extent. You don't normally see guys of his stature with the feet as quick as Anthony Yarde has. So I look at Anthony Yarde, right, and I said this several times last year after the fact, that Adam Boot and the style he teach would be very good for Anthony Yarde, because he hits hard, he's athletic, all right, and he has quick feet. That little ambush style where he gets past the jab, is able to land his right hand quick enough and then get out of range. He could do that. You know, that's kind of what David Haye used to be able to do, the ambush style where you probe around, you wait for your opportunity, you go in with fast, explosive shots. I think Yarde can do that, and I actually think that might be quite successful in this fight. We saw what happened when Yarde really put it on Lyndon Arthur. Now, we also saw his pressure fighting skills not at their optimum, and I think that kind of could be down to Tunde Ajayi being more of an outside kind of fighter, kind of slick kind of outside fighting style he teaches. Again, that's all well and good if you're able to outreach these guys, but if these guys are outreaching you, you need to have a front foot game. You need to be able to pressure effectively. And Yarde only really started pressuring effectively in the 12th round when he really just had to. You know, so I suspect that he'll be doing a mixture. I think he'll be, if I was in his team, I'd be saying, look, try and go for an ambush kind of style. You know, if you want to keep it at range, you've got quick feet. Zip in past the jab and try and land right hands. Try and land body shots to kind of take the air out of Lyndon Arthur as well. But specifically, if you can get a good counter right hand in there, you know, when you get past the jab, use your feet and then get back out of range before he has a chance to counter you back or to return fire. I think Yarde can do that. I really do. I think he can do that. He can make that work. He's definitely athletic enough. He definitely has the quick enough feet to do it. So I would love to see him try and implement that strategy. In terms of the pressure fighting, I would hope that it's got better. Yarde's pressure fighting, I don't know if it's just me, but when he does try and pressure and he does try and let the punches go, it all looks very deliberate. Does that make sense? There's no kind of, like, you see some pressure fighters and you see how they're setting things up and you see where they're going about it. With Yarde, it's just so kind of deliberate, just like he's forcing everything. It's not flowing at all. And that will kind of stem from several things. The fact that it's not really his style per se, and that his pressure fighting skills haven't been honed necessarily. As I said, he's pretty much had a year out of the ring apart from that mismatch. So maybe we'll see new things. I think this is an excellent fight. How both guys would win, I would be saying, if you are Lyndon Arter, more the same as in the first fight, bit more active. Try and get your right hand going, try and land it from a safe distance. If you're Anthony Yarde, you can't let this fight go the same pattern it did. You gotta take the bull by the horn. You gotta show a little bit more initiative. You gotta land quality shots. You can't stay at the end of a jab and hope that one or two nice little flurries will win you around. Use your feet. Use your quicker feet to get behind the jab, or to get past jab, I should say. Get in, land a couple of shots, and see how the pressure fighting works. Because yes, he had success in that 12th round. Arter's was quite tired by the end of that 12th round. He definitely didn't have the same tenacity that he did earlier on. So Yarde was able to kind of get on top of him and hurt him a bit and really try and force him back. If you can effectively do that throughout the course of this fight, on top of looking at what I said with getting in behind the jab, then I think you're going to have success. And I think you may be able to force a stoppage. I've got to give a pick on this. Some people are split. Some people are saying Arter's to win this fight. Some are saying Yarde. I've got to make a prediction. I don't like sitting on the fences. I've got to say who I feel will win this fight. Personally, I think this fight is going the distance. And I'm going to go with Anthony Yarde to win this fight on a razor-tight points decision. Maybe a majority, maybe unanimous, maybe split. But I reckon Anthony Yarde will nick this fight. And I believe he'll deserve to win it. I don't think we're going to be screaming, Robert A. I think we're going to be saying it was close, could have gone either way. That's what I think is going to happen. Now, Lyndon Arter can definitely win this fight. And if someone's picking him, I won't. Of course, and I'm sure they'll have their reasons as well. They might be able to say, gee, what you're saying is good. But you need to remember, and I'm perfectly open to seeing any suggestions to why Lyndon Arter will win. Leave them if I've missed them. Let me know in the comments section, for sure, definitely. I'm even though the first fight didn't catch fire, for some reason I think this one will. I think we'll see some drama in this fight. I definitely do. In terms of both guys, where they go, let's say for argument's sake Lyndon Arter wins. Well, he's going to have to push on. I'd like to see him and Craig Richards fight maybe next, or Boazzi, or if he wants to try and have a crack at world level, or European, there's a lot there for Lyndon Arter. If Anthony Yarde loses, oh boy, that's a tough one. That's a tough comeback. I think if he loses, he'll need to change his team. And at the end of the day, I keep forgetting that Yarde now is in his 30s. We were able to say back in 2016, 2017, he's just starting out, give him a bit of time. It's been 5 years. It's been 5 years. I don't think we can use that excuse anymore. He's in his 30s now. I think he'll need to push on. So if he wins, I think I'd love to see him fight Joshua Boazzi. I'd love to see him fight Spider Richards. They might try and make the Jose Burton fight now after all these years, because Burton seems to be on his way down. But I'd like to see both guys push on. And saying that, even if Lyndon Arter was to lose, I'd still pick him over a good few domestic level fighters. Likewise, Anthony Yarde. So it's not the end of the world. But I definitely think changes will need to be made for Anthony Yarde if he loses. With Lyndon Arter, I still think he could be quite useful at domestic level. We'll need to see how this fight goes. I'm looking forward to it. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Who do you have? Yarde, Arter, revenge, repeat. Let me know in the comment section. If you could, like the video, smash the like button. Subscribe, of course, if you haven't already. If you're new to the channel, hit the all notification bell. Help your boy out. For now, lads and lassies, I'll talk to you. Peace.